99.1 FM.
Furby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Digicel Prime Bundles just got better with 3 new apps. Watch more with PlayGlow. Share more with Sportsmax. Read more news with Loop. Listen more with D-Music. Plus extra data. It's simply more bundled together. 51 gigabytes for 7 days for only $2,000. Live the experience with Digicel. Activate today on the My Digicel app.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's Newscast on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. Pursuit of gas to shore project in Guyana is being touted as a likely way to reduce the cost of the generation of electricity in the country. But the development of such a project with a pipeline from the Starbuck block slated to be landed at Wales on the west bank of the Marara must be done in a clear and transparent manner. This would entail decisions being taken on the project with regards to feasibility, alternatives, and implications being laid bare in the public domain first. This is according to US-based Guyanese professor Terence Blackman, head of the mathematics department at the Medgar Evers College in New York, USA. He was at the time a guest on Kaieteur Radio's Guyana's Oil and You with moderator Kiana Wilberg and pointed to likely additional costs that should be costs that have not been ventilated publicly. And now let's tell you, Guyana's Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, has published new guidelines for conducting and reviewing environmental impact assessments for large-scale projects to be undertaken in Guyana, particularly targeting the emerging oil and gas and renewable energy sectors. According to the new guidelines since posted on the EPA's website, the update consists of a generic manual and standalone annexes for the offshore upstream hydrocarbons, power, forestry, and mining sectors. The EPA, in publishing its new rules and procedures for conducting and reviewing environmental impact assessments, said the emerging oil and gas sector and potential for introduction of associated downstream industries suggests major economic opportunities. And now let's tell you, when it comes to the evaluation of bids submitted for the oil sector, Ghana has arguably gone above and beyond to ensure its local businesses are not treated unfairly or discriminated against. In this regard, Ghana has a set of guidelines in place for oil companies to use when evaluating bids received for the supply of goods and services. These guidelines ensure that local businesses are given first preference and are not shut out because they lack experience. Here, oil companies get to determine the procurement rules local suppliers must play by. In fact, local companies can be rejected for any number of reasons they deem appropriate. Just last weekend, for example, we reported on how a local manufacturing company was snubbed by an ExxonMobil contractor after it submitted an expression of interest for the provision of personal protective equipment. The Guyanese company, which was hopeful of getting a foot into the oil industry, was rejected on the basis of having zero experience in supplying the industry with personal protective equipment. And now let's tell you, even though its agenda for 2021 will be focused on ensuring Guyana has a local content legislation in place, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry said it will also seek to garner international support so that its members can be better prepared to benefit from the country's nascent oil and gas sector. This position was outlined by recently elected GCCI President Timothy Tucker. Tucker noted that the GCCI is planning to reach out worldwide to institutions and organizations that would support private sector development in Guyana. He noted too that GCCI would also be turning to governments for support, while pointing to the Indian government and offers of scholarships. And now let's tell you, 3 days after Rondell Bacchus, called Killer, was arrested in relation to the execution of Ricardo Fagundes on Main Street, the suspect was yesterday released on $100,000 station bail. Bacchus was released with a condition attached that he report to the police on identified days. The police also stated yesterday that while Bacchus was being transported from the lockups, he maliciously damaged the police vehicle. He was subsequently charged and is expected to appear in court on April 12th regarding the offense. Meanwhile, the $1 billion Westminster Secondary School in La Parfait Harmony in Region 3 is finally completed, though 15 months after the original deadline. This was revealed by the Ministry of Education yesterday, where it was stated that the Education Minister, Priya Manik Chand, conducted a visit to the quote-unquote state-of-the-art facility and declared it ready for the new school year, which will begin in September. The construction of the school fell under the Guyana Secondary Education Improvement Project, which was funded by the World Bank. The project aimed to aid the achievement of universal secondary education in Guyana in keeping with modern standards. And now let's tell you, with the La Soufrière volcano crisis that is currently affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines, both the Private Sector Commission and the Civil Defense Commission are working together to procure emergency supplies that are to be shipped to the island. Both agencies indicated that they are currently working to supply as many items on the immediate emergency list. Some items on the list are as follows, but are subject to be changed as the needs change. 1,000 water tanks, either 800 and 1,000 gallons, 5,000 5-gallon buckets, and 10,000 folding cots. Now you can get the full details and the full items and their qualities in today's Kaieteur newspaper. In other news, a 16-year-old bandit yesterday received a good thrashing from residents of 2nd Street, Caneville, on the east bank of Demerara after he robbed a 17-year-old mechanical student of his belongings and attempted to escape. The suspect was discharged from the Georgetown Public Hospital after receiving treatment for the injuries he suffered at the hands of public-spirited citizens. After he was robbed just after midnight of his BMX bicycle and $240 in cash, the 17-year-old said he ran home and raised an alarm with persons in the area. The persons who came to the young man's rescue searched the area and eventually caught one of the assailants. The robber was beaten and then handed over to the police, while the other two suspects managed to escape. And now, let's tell you that Region 6 students are poised to have their learning experience taken to new levels following the commissioning of smart classrooms at the New Amsterdam Secondary School and the Skeldon Line Path Secondary. These classrooms are equipped with items such as interactive boards, televisions that will allow teachers and students to connect and interact remotely. Motion and voice-activated cameras, complete with a voice recognition feature, are also installed to ensure effective communication between participants. During the event yesterday, Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand expressed her excitement to be commissioning the smart classrooms in the region. They are now the 5th and 6th smart classrooms being commissioned across Guyana. And with that, we've come to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burbies 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
It is now 19 hours 9 in Guyana, or 7:09 p.m. Coming up next, an excerpt from the Glenn Lal Show, Tell It As It Is. Remember, you can catch Glenn Lal himself on his very own show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and the following day, a rebroadcast at 11 a.m.